Never let an admissions committee assume anything, because we always guess wrong.
Welcome to MBA Pod TV. I'm your host, Mia Saini. Join me as I bring you special coverage of a Forte Foundation MBA admissions panel here in Washington, D.C. Forte Forum events, which are organized by the Forte Foundation, provide opportunities for potential MBA students to learn about business schools and careers in business. The panelists will go over recommendation letters, work experience, the essays, and of course the interview. The panelists include Pat Harrison, Associate Director of Admissions at the Tech School of Business, Sharon Thompson, Director of Diversity Initiatives at Duke's Fuqua School of Business, and Analilia Silva, Associate Director of Admissions at the Kelley School of Business at Indiana University, and last, Erin Nickelsburg, Director of Admissions and Recruitment at the Wisconsin School of Business.
My advice for preparing for an interview: think about some strengths that you absolutely want to highlight. Pick 3 or 4 strengths that you know you want to get across during the interview process. And then think about anecdotes and examples that support each of those strengths that you want to talk about. Being able to speak using examples is so much more compelling and so much more memorable to the interviewer. You get a whole lot more depth, and the interviewer is really able to understand what you've done. So rather than just saying, oh, I have great leadership skills, provide an actual example of when you exercise those leadership skills. Also, in doing your homework before and preparing for the interview, do some good research on the school. It doesn't make a good impression if you're asking questions that are easily answerable from the brochure. So think about good, inquisitive questions. Don't come up with something wacky just because you want a creative question, but be able to think of really good substantive questions that aren't easily answered from the marketing materials. And then a few other obvious things to avoid: don't be late. Don't try to be something other than yourself. It's like the essays. You don't want to come across as phony. You don't want to come across as lacking substance. So really tell us your honest opinion and how you really feel. And occasionally, this one seems obvious too, but don't ask the interviewer how you did during the interview. Surprisingly, I get quite a few people who will do that, and it really shows a lack of confidence and professionalism. So go in confidently, and you're going to do great. So, and then one other thing is read the cues that you're getting from the interviewer. I seem to be kind of long-winded tonight, but don't do that in your interview. Answer the question and answer it fully, but once you've answered it, stop. Long-winded interviews get to be very frustrating for the interviewer, and they're a wasted opportunity because you aren't able to get all of the information that you want to get across in a very short period of time. So treat it, approach it very concisely and stop when you're done. And so I'll stop at that and open it up to all of you for questions.
My question's about the letters of recommendation. I was wondering if it would be better to have someone more influential write your letters of recommendation that's your supervisor but a little bit higher up, or if you should choose the supervisor that best understands you. For example, I'm working on Capitol Hill. I could probably get a letter of recommendation from my congresswoman, but I think that my chief of staff would be better able to speak to my abilities.
That's actually a very good, wise choice, is that you want to select the person not based on their title, but the person that knows you the best and that can best answer the questions that school is asking.
What is the proper etiquette for the number of letters of recommendations that you might ask one person for?
Do you mean like if you're asking one individual to write to 5 different schools?
Yeah.
So typically, if you're applying to a large number of schools, I think most applicants, on average, the GMAT survey said is 5, right around 5. So you want to make sure that you share the love and don't put all of that onto one person. Most schools either require 2 or 3 letters of recommendation. I don't know very many programs that require 4. So 2 or 3. So you want to make sure that you probably ask, 5 or 6 different people. They can provide different perspectives. If you're comfortable with your person that's writing your letter of recommendation and you think they can handle it, then you can obviously ask them to write all of them for you. But, share the love. I think usually 5 or 6 is the sweet spot.
Hi. In terms of your work experience and changing jobs
when you're getting ready to apply. How do you guys see that in terms of job switching in the middle of the application process?
If you're doing your career management, and as you're finishing your MBA, you're looking for a job, and so you've got 2 years at this, 2.5 years at a company, and then you've got this random 6 months that doesn't jive, and then you've got 2 years that you're completely out of the workforce, and we all know that you were getting your MBA, and that's fantastic, but I mean, that leads to another resume gap, and so then all of a sudden, you look like a switcher. You look like a jumper, and from a career management standpoint, that's always difficult.
If there's anything that's not clear from the application, use the optional essay. Never let an admissions committee assume anything, because we always guess wrong. So if you've had a job change that's unusual, or you're currently unemployed because you've been laid off, or you had a semester where your grades really tanked, use the optional essay and explain to us what happened. I was working 40 hours a week that term and I wasn't able to study as well, or I had an illness and that's why my grades went down.
Hi. The one thing that I noticed on the applications that in terms of job experience, it's kind of vague when it goes back to part-time experience during college. I mean, do you want to know if I worked at Abercrombie part-time, even though it's not related, but it looks like I did something instead of slept all day? I mean, how much detail do you want in the... Does it make sense?
Well, I think we do ask us about kind of part-time, and I think it's just trying to get a complete picture of the activities that you were involved in throughout undergrad as well as post-grad. So again, it's trying to paint the complete picture. And I think for someone that may have fewer years of work experience, I think the information is, if we're trying to look at if you've had like a co-op experience or any internship opportunities, and how that might factor into kind of evaluating your overall work history and background. But I think it's just trying to get a complete picture. In terms of the part-time, we're not looking for you to tell a lot of information, but if there was a really meaningful part-time position that you had, that you gained a lot of knowledge or experience or leadership or team experience, and that certainly is something that you can feel free to share with the admissions committee.
I'm wondering how you feel about drawing upon personal experiences rather than professional experiences in the essay questions, and if you've ever experienced a case of overshare from applicants.
Both are really valuable. It all depends on how you put it and how you explain them. If a personal experience will let us know what you have done and some of your skills, I mean, that will be good. In terms of oversharing, that's a pretty good question, and that might be a very thin line, and you will know better. I mean, it's kind of hard for us to tell you, that's oversharing, that's not. I mean, it's all about your personal story. We want to know who you are, so whatever let us know who you are will be good. I mean, obviously professional is great, but if you have a strong personal experience that you might want to share and that might tell us a lot about you, I mean, it's okay to share that. Do you guys want to add anything?
That's when giving it to somebody who knows you and somebody who doesn't know you well can come in handy. They can say, well, too much information, maybe. Or right. that seems natural.
Okay, thank you for your advice.
Would it be okay, I'm currently employed, would it be okay if I asked former coworkers to provide letter recommendations from maybe 2 years ago? And not immediate supervisor, but coworkers?
Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to stress as we're thinking about the different questions across the board, whether it's recommendations, that one of the key things is that you want to make sure as you're researching your business schools that you're finding out how that school views that particular policy. I think for different schools, they're different. Like I know for our school, we want to see at least one letter of recommendation from a current supervisor. If you can't provide that, then we want you to tell us in the optional essay. I think being able to get current information is always good, but if there's a good sound reason why you would want to go to a former coworker, if you feel like they could answer the questions better or better attest to your strengths and ability than someone else you're currently working with, I think that's a choice that you have to make. But just be very thoughtful in how you select those recommenders and making sure that they're the individuals that really can provide the best insight to both your skills and abilities and also how you'll be able to contribute to the business environment.
Okay, well, thank you everybody for coming tonight, and we'll be around for a couple minutes afterwards if you have some additional questions to ask us.
Well, that's it for this edition of MBA Pod TV. I'm your host, Mia Saini. Visit us at mbapodcaster.com to download the latest audio and video shows. And of course, join us on Facebook and Twitter to get the latest news and insight into your MBA application process.